David Price, my friend, welcome to the Financial Freedom Fast podcast. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. How you doing today?
Not too bad, man. I put a new property in contract last week. It should be a pretty sick deal, so I'm excited about that. And we were talking a little bit about, you spending some time in Costa Rica there. So now that you're back in the saddle here and everything's going, you ready to ramp up the business, or what's going on with you now?
Yeah, I mean, look at it is it's 2023 already. So I start looking at my numbers from last year and the previous year, and I've had over 100% growth already with some time left in the year. So now it's okay. 100% growth is really cool. So how do I make sure I have 100% growth in 2023? That's where my mindset's been. That's what I've been thinking about. What do I have to put in place? What actions? What investments? Because that's really what it comes down to, right? If you want to create passive income, you got to invest money, right? There's
Right.
no other way around that I know of. If you find a way, let me know, please.
Yeah, we gotta make that money to be able to invest it, and that's gonna be a topic for our podcast today, is maximizing that W-2 income, and that's an active income. That's something that you have a bit of an expertise in, becoming branded as the fastest millionaire in the insurance space. So for those of our listeners that don't know you, why don't you give us your story? Where'd you start? Why'd you start? And what have you built up for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, my name is David Price, and I've always been an entrepreneur. I always wanted to be a business owner. Definitely worked as an employee before. And my whole life, I just wanted to build something that would let me live where I want to live, do what I want to do, drive whatever car I want to drive. And I was always chasing that. And I had a few different businesses, and nothing actually ever gave me the freedom that I want. So even I was always looking for the next thing, right? The next thing that would give me that platform. And somebody showed me an opportunity with a particular insurance company because of their technology and the way they're doing things. It looked like a really good platform to build a business on. A lot of people, they get their insurance license because they want to sell insurance. I was looking at it from a business opportunity. And May of 18, I got my insurance license, knowing almost nothing about the business. And within 3 years of having my license, I deposited over $1 million in my bank account. And this would be my fourth year as a licensed agent. And I've already made over $1 million just this year. So definitely having a lot of fun. All my income this year was passive. So there was nothing that I had to do to make that income. Making six figures monthly passively is definitely is giving me that lifestyle that I've been chasing, right? To live where I want, do what I want, drive what I want, and have the freedom to make money in your.
So how did that, as a insurance agent or owning this insurance company, how did that become passive for you?
Just like any other business. So at first I had to sell insurance, right? That was the thing. I had to learn how to sell insurance. I had to learn about how to deal with objections, how to work leads. I had to learn the system and maybe develop a system a little bit more. And then once I figured that out, then it was teach other people how to do the same thing. Just like Sam Walton, right? I don't think he's at the register in any of the Walmarts cashing out groceries. He put the processes and everything in place, and then he hired people. So what I do is I show people how to build virtual insurance agencies, teach them how to get their insurance license, teach them how to sell insurance, show them how to get leads, teach them how to do presentations. And realistically, it's like I'm setting up mini franchises. And this is something, as long as you have an insurance license, you can do it from anywhere in the world. So it gives you a lot of freedom, and it gives me a lot of freedom to hire somebody and give someone a good opportunity. Got a lot of single moms that they're very limited on their time because they need to take care of their children, but they're able to make six figures working from their house on the phone. And just like any other business, every policy that gets sold, I get a little piece of that. They get the majority of it, and families get protected. People make money, and everyone else also has that same opportunity to grow a business of their own. So we all have the same opportunity, which I really like, instead of the employee mindset to where I'm just paying people hourly and I'll never be able to have the same freedoms that I have or the same income.
You came up in this industry pretty quick, built a name for yourself up. What would you attribute? Have you always been that high of a performer? Was it just like you found insurance and this is what stuck? Or have you always done pretty well in other jobs and other aspects of your life?
I've always been a high performer. Even when I worked as an employee, I always treated it as if I owned the job. I wouldn't, or the business, I wouldn't just do the minimal. I always wanted to try to help do things better. I remember I was at this one job, they had all these forms and to me, they're a mess. So I like redid all the forms for him and sent them to the president. I was like, hey, I think they look good like this. And he actually gave me a bonus. And no one asked me to do those kind of things. So I always wanted to be the best at what I was doing, whether I was paying salary hourly or whether I was a business owner. The one thing that happened is just the platform that I found and with this insurance carrier, it was so simple and it was so easy to duplicate. Right. So when I take a really strong work ethic, positive attitude, being a good leader, and I think being a good leader is just being really honest with people and building trust with people, not giving them reasons not to trust you. It just it just worked really easy to me. It was just really simple to scale, really simple to show other people how to make money. I have one agent I'm thinking about personally who reached out to me. I said I was looking for someone to help me with my social media. I'll pay you $500 a month. And they actually reached out to me. They said $500 a month would really help me and my family. Could I get this job, please? And I was like, listen, like I think you're worth more than that. And I helped them get their insurance license, and they actually 1099 $170,000 their first year with me. So obviously big life change there, right? They're saying $500 a month is going to change their life. So I helped them make 170 in a year, which is quite a bit more than that. And they had no experience. So it's just the simplicity. I think something we're really strong at is our lead program. If you're selling something, leads are so important. We talk about that with real estate. If you have somebody constantly finding you good deals, if someone's sending you 5 to 10 good real estate deals or just real estate deals every single day, it's probably gonna be pretty easy to be successful in real estate. So I think that's, yeah, I don't care what you're selling. It's about that demand, and the lead program, right, gives you that demand or when you learn how to create leads.
We focus here on decreasing expenses and maximizing income so you could take that delta and you can buy assets. Here, when we talk about maximizing income, have you found any consistencies from high performing agent to high performing agent versus your lower performing agents? What is it that makes the successful agent successful?
It's funny you ask that because I do bring on over 100 agents a month. So I do get a really good sample size of
Mm,
who's going to win, why they're winning, what habits they have. And what I learn is one, you need a positive attitude. And I'll go in deeper into that. If you're driving down the road and some guy cuts you off and that ruins your day, I don't think being an entrepreneur is for you. Right. You have to learn to be flexible. Don't let the guy that cut you off ruin your day. When bad things happen, you just got to be flexible. You have to just be like, all right, cool. That's that. You know what I mean? And move forward. And I think anyone that's successful as an entrepreneur would agree and if they really think about that. So if you have issues with that, something you got to work on letting go. And so positive attitude, a good work ethic. I do. One of the terms I'm not a fan of is work smarter, not harder. And I believe you should work harder, right? And then you can start working smarter, right? When you start creating the income and stuff like that. In the beginning, I think you need to get as much activity in as you can. You have to put in as much work as you can, especially if you're trying to get somewhere. An analogy I like to use is if you're in New York and I'm in Florida and I'm trying to get to New York and that's the destination of where I'm trying to get to, right? I could fly there, get there pretty fast. I could drive there, get there pretty fast, or I could walk. Or I can drive and stop a lot of places along the way and take pictures and stuff like that, right? So I look at that like work ethic. If you only put an hour in a week, it's going to take you longer to get to your goals and where you're trying to go versus put 10 hours in a day or 12 hours. And the goal is it's not like a job where that's your life, right? It's like,
right.
I'm okay with I was okay with putting in 14 hours a day because it was just short term, right? So now I don't have to put any hours in, so I get all my time back. So work ethic's super important and get an idea of putting in more effort than you think you have to at first. And like I
Right.
said, once you have the money flowing and you have your system down, then you can turn it down. Then you can do what you want. Then you get your time back. And then another thing is being coached. So many people I see in every industry, and I was this way too, is your ego stops you from being coachable. You don't want to ask questions. You want to Google it. You want to try to figure it out yourself. Find somebody that has what you have and dude, knowing what I know now, like I would have worked for people for free when I was a
Mhm.
kid. Like if I seen a guy that was a millionaire and I'm a 16-year-old and he's willing to put me to work for free just so I can sit at the table with him and learn from him, whether it's he's got me cutting his grass, picking weeds, just to have some time and spend with them to learn from them and get ahead of because it's all about knowledge, right? They just have some kind of knowledge that I don't have. I used to look at it like they're born into it, and some people are, but for the most part, they know something we don't. They're doing things that we're not doing. So I think those are the three things that really make a difference: having a positive attitude, good work ethic, and being coachable. And if you have those three things, I think you'd be successful.
I like that last tip you added in there of working for a millionaire, and if I was to go back to my college days, if I had to pay for college, which I was fortunate that I got some scholarships, didn't have to do it, but if I was in the situation where I would have had to pay 60 grand a year, 50 grand a year to go to school, I definitely would have opted to just go find somebody who's in a position that I wanna be in and go learn from them. Maybe someone like you that, has 6 figures of passive income coming in every month, and if I come to you and I say, "David, how can I create 1/10 of what you have created, $10,000 a month?" And that would allow me to live the rest of my life on passive income. That would be awesome. I would find someone like you and do that. What are your thoughts of college or university versus finding a mentor and maybe working for them and following them around?
It's funny because there's nothing wrong with going to college. I'm not gonna say that. The more we know, the better. But what I do have an issue with is how it's the norm to go to college and spend $60,000 a year or whatever it is. I've heard people spend all kinds of money in college, just
Mm.
like $60,000 for what do you say college? How much will college cost for you? When just put a number out there.
Yeah, I would say at least $40,000 a year, so we're looking at 4 years, you're looking at 160,000.
Okay, so $160,000. It's the norm, right? To go to college, $160,000 to learn from some people that learn from a book, right? You're not really, the chances are, especially if you're business classes, right? The chances are they don't have a successful business or never had a successful business, right? We'll pay $160,000 for that and a lot of
Right.
time and energy, but we don't want to work for free for somebody that actually has what you want. I don't know about you, but would you have traded places with many of those professors? Was that where you're trying to get in your life or not? So you have a chance to realistically, we should be paying the millionaire or the billionaire to train us, give them $160,000 for 4 years to help us. So it's just a mindset change and just realizing there's a lot of information. There's more information now than ever. There's a lot of people you can connect with. And I think learning to find these people having success that are where you want to go, figure out how you can provide value into their life. Even myself, I was at a car show and a guy showed up in a Bugatti, that's a $1 million car, in case anyone didn't know, used or new, you're paying $1 million or more for that car. So I knew this guy was way more successful than I was because I'm not in a place where I could drive $1 million car around. And as soon as I saw him, I walked right up to him, introduced myself, and I started a conversation with him. And I started asking about his business, his cars. I tried to connect him with this person. Then I told him, I was like, listen, if you ever want to go out to dinner, I know you don't need the money. You'll never have to pay. I would love to just sit down and talk to you and just have conversation and just learn some stuff that you know. And I think it's so important to have that mindset where you just always try to learn and get knowledge from people that have what you don't have. I also see a lot of people taking swimming advice from drowning people. I think that's also a big issue. A lot of times when somebody's starting a new business or doing something, they talk to somebody else who's also struggling and to
Mm,
ask them what they think. Hey, you think I should sign up for this course? Or you think I should pay for this guy to mentor me? Or you think I should buy this property? And you got somebody
mm.
like in credit card debt that isn't where you wanna be. No, that sounds like a scam.
Look at who is giving the advice, look at who's teaching you. See the situation that you're in and decide if that's a situation that you would even wanna be in. If it's not, then why would you ever take advice from them? And now I'm curious, with the situation that you've built for yourself, the freedom, the financial success, how often do you have people, less successful, come up to you and say, "Hey, I'd like to either work for you for free or I'd like to learn from you. I can do anything. I could add value, whatever you need. How often does that happen for you?
I have a lot of people that do want to work with, offer to do it for free though. And
Mm,
most of them don't try to provide any value. They don't look at it that way. It's usually, I think one of the quotes I like is, I forgot what president it was. I'm sure you're going to know, you're the smart one on this show here, but it's not what your country could do for you. It's what you could do for your country. And a
mm,
lot of times on the phone, it's, I want to work with you, but what can you do for me? And I get that a lot. And I know when I started, my whole thing was like, I needed to prove myself, right? It was my turn to do something. I had to catch the attention. I had to get somebody recognized like, oh, wow, this guy's a superstar, right? Because you can't go in there and tell people you're going to do all these things. People's words are way louder than their actions, unfortunately, when their actions need to be louder than their words.
right. And now, one of the points that you hit on here. So we've got positive attitude, work ethic, and coachability. Now, on the work ethic side, I think some people struggle with working hard because they don't either they don't enjoy what they're doing, their heart isn't in it, or just not fighting or working for the right reasons. Some would call it your why. Now, what was your why starting off? And how were you able to find that why? How could other people, maybe they're struggling in a position where they can't find the motivation because they don't even know why they should be motivated? What was your why, and how would you recommend others can find that for themselves?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's so on point. So I'm from New Jersey. I grew up by the beach, and I ended up moving to Louisiana because I wanted to work on oil rigs. 'Cause I thought that was going to get me closer to the lifestyle I wanted. Because I met some people when I worked out in Africa that said, you work on an oil rig, you do 30 days on, 30 days off, you make six figures. I'm like, dude, I can have half the year off and make six figures, man, and
Mm,
live off the coast of Brazil. That sounds amazing. So what I quickly found out is working on oil rigs in Louisiana is different than working on oil rig offshore in different countries, right? It's different pay structure, different rotation structure and stuff like that. But I ended up in Louisiana for 7 years and I just got tired of not being by the beach. Not that I spent a lot of time on the actual sand, but that whole beach atmosphere. And anyone that lives by the beach, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And again, I was doing disaster work at the time. I was doing well. I was making really good money. I was an entrepreneur, right? I had people working for me. But every time there's a disaster, what would happen is once you have everything figured out, it's gone. Everything's fixed, or more contractors come in and they start doing things cheaper. It just finishes. So it's hard to really scale to no end. And so when I got my insurance license, I got it in May. At the same exact time, I got an apartment, signed a lease for an apartment in July in Florida. So that was part of my why. Again, living where I wanted to live. The apartment wasn't where I wanted to live, right? I had a very humble apartment. It was a two-bedroom apartment. I had a futon in the room as a couch, no TV and no other furniture. I had a mattress on the floor, no bed frame. And this is me. And I got my girl to come with Louisiana. I was like, hey, I'm just getting my insurance license. We're going to be rich. We're going to live in Florida.
right.
Meanwhile, we're not living like that at all. But I knew where we were going, right? Knew that this was going to give me the lifestyle that I wanted. I knew your why. I explain it. It's like when you look at it, it's like you see a picture on the wall, right? And as you get closer to this picture, as you get closer to the goal, I call it like your why, your destination of where you're trying to go, like the picture gets more vivid and the colors get brighter. You start seeing things better. And I spend almost every day on Zillow. Matter of fact, I might go to an open house later on today if I finish in time. It's a $5 million house on the water, Gulf
Mm,
access, one town over where I want to move. It was actually listed for 15 million at one point. So I'm actually going to go
mm,
check that house out. So I spend time on Zillow looking at these houses that I want to live in. I spend time looking at cars that I want to drive. I look at different vacations. Like I'm constantly looking at things. I think a big thing is we're not exposed to enough. I grew up in the projects in New Jersey. I lived in a single wide trailer in New Jersey. It was four of us in a two-bedroom trailer, right? So like I wasn't exposed to like many things that were nice, but my grandfather was a business person. And when I would go there, he had a really nice condo. He had an interior decorator that did the whole place. He bought a new Lincoln Town Car every other year. Always went on lakes vacations. Heck, they had 3 meals. I had 3 meals when I went there. I was exposed to like a different world, and I saw what was possible. Right, so it gave me a chance to step out of my comfort zone and chase that and what was possible. So I think it's real important to really spend time on your why. And a lot of times people have these, I'm seeing now, right, the new year vision board parties, and to me, like, that sounds cool, like cutting pictures out of a magazine and stick them on a piece of paper. But like, you need to find the house that you want to live in. You need to put a value to it. You need to know what the mortgage payment's going to be. Like, you have to have these numbers. You could actually, like, when I make a vision board, I put it on my phone as my wallpaper, and I'm almost replacing it every single year because I'm actually getting these things, right? Because I'm actually working. There's a price tag, there's a plan. I know exactly where I'm going and I know how to get it. Again, like, just if I was coming to your house, there's the exact address and I know where I'm going. And I might get a flat tire on the way. I might run out of gas. Maybe someone will rob me. But at the end of the day, I'm
Right.
still going to get there because I know exactly where I'm going. No one makes a plan to go on vacation and then cancels it because they got a flat tire. They
Right.
fix that tire and they go. And I think you have to make your why like that crystal clear and spend time like every day, every like Sunday, I call Sunday like dream building day, right? Spend some time Sunday when you're laying in bed at night instead of scroll through Facebook, man, scroll through Zillow, or scroll through Car Guru, see what's out there and see how much it costs. And realize like a lot of these things, like, listen, you want a Maserati, you can find one for 60 grand. It's not that far out. You just have to see what's out there. And when you see what's out there, you see how much closer you are to reaching these goals and you work a little bit harder. Now it's like a magnet, like pulling me forward instead of this isn't work anymore. This is a hobby to me.
Yeah, and one of the things that pop culture reference here, Drake's first big mansion that he got with the big pool and the grotto in the backyard, all that good stuff. He had that as his screensaver on his laptop when he was doing all of his mixing way back in the beginning, and he literally ends up manifesting, bringing that into his life by seeing that every day and having that be his motivation. So that's great. And as an actionable step that some listeners can take, you were mentioning you grew up in the projects type area. You weren't exposed to a ton, but you did have a family member that was able to expose you to some different things. If you don't have a family member like that, you need to find someone out there that can expose you to different things. I actually remember having a conversation with you, David, probably the first conversation we ever had. You were one of the first people I ever talked to that made over $100,000 a month. And that was just mind blowing to me. I didn't even know that, like, hell, there's actually people out there that are just like normal guys like you are on this podcast now that I can talk to that are making $100,000 a month. And you can open, if you can open yourself to the possibility that you can do that too, then things will start to open up for you too. Open yourself to the possibility of buying the Bugatti, or maybe the Bugatti's out so for now, but open up to buying the Maserati, which you're right, they're not that expensive. You can find a Maserati for 35, 40 grand. I've seen them before. So there's people buying those cars like all the time around here for that price point. Great information. One thing I would like to touch on, if this is all about maximizing income. So, 2 parts for this. If someone and I really would like your point of view on this. If someone maybe isn't the best salesperson, they don't have the personality, let's say the personality for sales. Let's say they're working an analyst, a job as an analyst right now, making 70K. If you were in that position, how would you increase your W-2 income to, let's say, 150,000? What is the steps that you would take to go from 70K to 150,000 if you don't, at the moment at least, have those personality traits that encompass a successful salesperson?
That's it's a tough question. So the first thing, like I told you, I hire over 100 new insurance agents every single month. And, what I have realized is I stopped trying to judge people. because I've been wrong so many times. You talk to that person that's got that silk tongue and they tell you they're gonna do all these amazing things and they got these great ideas and stuff like that, but they don't have the to make it happen. And I've also had people that sucked at sales for a year or 2 years, and then all of a sudden something clicked in them. And at that point, and the one person I'm thinking particularly, and they live in a high rise in Miami now, single mom, but they'll make over $200,000 this year. Went their first year not making it any money. So it's not a personality thing, right? It's again, it's your heart because just like anything else, man, if we put enough time and effort to it, we can learn how to do it. And I know if you're making $70,000 a year and that's where you're at, right? And you're going to a job from 9 to 5, what I would do, knowing what I know now, is I would lower my expenses as low as I can. And I would work on getting as much money as you can and figuring out like what that business is or what model that is and investing that in something. And I think that it's important to hyper focused on one thing. What I see a lot of people do is they do try to do a lot of different things at once. And I don't know about you, but when I'm doing one thing, I could be really good at it. When I'm spread out, I'm not as good. So find what that is. And what I see a lot of people do is they get so caught up in even in insurance sales. When you sell insurance, there's a lot of different products you could sell. And when I talk to people, they might say, I want to sell mortgage protection. And I'll ask them, why do you want to sell mortgage protection? Because I like mortgage protection. All right, cool. So what's your demand on mortgage protection? Like, why do you want to sell mortgage protection? So I sell final expense insurance. The reason I sell final expense insurance is I had a mentor willing to teach me how to sell final expense insurance that was very successful. And I had a good lead source to where I would never run out of people to talk to that were interested in final expense insurance. Right. So I had the mentorship and then I had the demand. Right. So if you're looking to invest in a business, don't get caught on some random business that you've seen that you don't know anything about. Right. Find somebody again living like you're living. Because at the end of the day, the business is creating the lifestyle. Right. I sell final expense insurance because it's giving you the lifestyle. Like as long as you have a good product, we don't want to sell bad products. We don't want to rip people off or anything like that. But as long as it's a good product, the product don't really matter. Right.
Right.
The lifestyle that the product gives us, real estate. Right. So if you're going to do real estate, or you're going to do, and I'm new at real estate, so I don't want to talk too much about something that I don't have a ton of experience in, or you do short-term rentals. If you're like, that's your jam, but
Right.
make sure you have somebody to teach you that jam. If you're going to do apartment buildings, that's your jam. But again, find somebody. And another thing is don't get multiple mentors, right? But get one person that understands you, that you can have conversations that you can learn from, but at the same time, they're learning from you so they can see how to coach you and direct you. I have a lot of insurance agents that they don't communicate real well with me. So I can't help them because I don't know what's going on. Like I can give them information, but we can't tweak anything if I don't get any feedback.
Right. Now, let me ask you a question. If you were starting from scratch, nothing, how quickly do you think you could build up an insurance company like the one you have right now? Hiring agents, how quickly could you build up to, let's say, $20,000 in income?
20,000 income passively.
Yeah, monthly.
So it took me about a year and a half to do that, not knowing what I was doing. So I think I could definitely do it a lot faster now, know what I'm doing and gotta people know me now too. So that definitely helps. But if someone was literally listening to everything I say, I should be able to do it within a year and a half.
And that's, let's just talk about that. Maybe someone's listening and they're like, man, this David guy, he built this so quick and he didn't know what he was doing when he got in and he built that in a year and a half. What would the steps be there if someone wanted to try to replicate your success there?
First part is get your insurance license, which is pretty simple. You can do an online course. Most every state, it's a 20-hour online course, self-paced. Took me about 3 weeks total to get my insurance license. I was in Florida, so Florida takes a 40-hour online course. Once you have your insurance license, then you learn how to sell, learn how to deal with objections, right? And you have to be a master with objections. And the one thing I do have now is a virtual call center. So right now I have a Zoom meeting going on. I have some of the top producers in the country. They're on there, they're selling. So you get to listen to them. And I had some guy yesterday reaching out to me trying to get advice. And I was like, are you on our virtual call center? He's like, no. I was like, how can I take you serious that you want to build a business if you're not like rubbing elbows with some of the best in the industry every chance you
Mhm.
have? And like, got on the phone with them or actually I made them get on the Zoom and we talked on the Zoom about it. You're going to want to work hard. You're going to want to put a lot of effort in it. And the reason why I could say I don't play the guitar, but if I wanted to play the guitar, do I do it? And I really want to play and I want to learn. Do I do it 1 hour a week, 1 hour a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day? The more hours I put in, the faster I'm going to accomplish that. And the goal is to get really good at selling as fast as possible. And then we start teaching other people how to do the same thing. And I got a
Mm.
system where I show people how to hire insurance agents and how to duplicate the process that I just did. And once the duplication takes place, it starts growing exponentially. And that's when things start getting really fun.
That's awesome. So you come in, you get your license, you learn how to sell. Once you learn how to sell, then you can start bringing people on because you know exactly what goes into selling, what how they would need to be trained to be a successful agent, and then you can bring them on and have them start making money for you. That is fantastic, and I think that is I don't look at insurance as this is a passive thing. I don't personally look at it like that, selling insurance, because I have friends who do it and they are grinding 24/7 for the to make sales. But they also aren't looking at this from the lens of once I'm good at this, why don't I just hire my own people and have them go do their own thing? And then you can pull a cut of that. So if anybody's listening here that is curious about building out your company, possibly think in the future of bringing on some agents of your own. First of all, learn how to do what needs to be done and what those agents would need to do, and then from there, build your company. I think the another big thing here is reach out to David, which we'll put some ways to do that at the end here. Reach out to David, see how you guys might be able to work together and follow his footsteps. He's built something that you want to build. Then follow up, and I'm sure David is always open to a conversation around it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I like to talk to people that want to win, man.
All right, so some final questions that we've got here. What is one actionable step that our listeners should take today to start on their path towards financial freedom?
It's December 20th. So I think the one thing that's really important is figuring out what you want to accomplish in 2023 and get real clear with that. So whether it's a certain amount of money you want to make, whether it's how many doors you want to get, whether it's a car you want to buy, a house you want to, whatever it is, and it could be multiple things, but I think it's really important to figure out what your destination is and what you want to accomplish in 2023 and have a reason to jump out of bed every day. When your eyes open, man, and you're laying in bed and you're not jumping out of the bed, something's wrong. You need to have a reason to jump out. So I think that's the first thing to do is find your why and your destination on where you want to go.
Get excited to get up and go do it. If you're not excited for it, you're not going to do it. Now, would you say that would you recommend as the fastest way to 10K? Build up $10,000 a month in passive income. Would you recommend to our audience as the way that you know best, would you say it would be to go the insurance route, learn how to sell, and then hire other people? How would you build what would you recommend as the fastest way to build up $10,000 a month in passive income?
Yeah. So the insurance been great to me. The thing I really like about it is there was no money that came out of my pocket. The only money I had to spend to get started, my investment was about $300, and that was to get my insurance license. And from that point on, my business funded any new growth that I had. Real simple to make $10,000 a month in passive income. If you had 10 agents and each agent was issuing $10,000 a month in premium, that's $100,000 a month. If you had a 10% override, that's your $10,000. So it's really that simple. Find 10 people looking to make more money, looking to work from home, looking to work on the phone. I don't think it's really hard to find the people that is looking for it, especially if someone's watching this podcast, right? This isn't Judge Judy here, right? They're looking for information. They're looking how to create income. They're looking how to better themselves. And we have the internet, so it's not hard to find people that want to do that. So you find 10 people that issue 10,000 and that's a very conservative number. That's it. And you're at your
Mhm.
10,000 a month passively already.
And go into it with your end goal in mind of building up that passive income, I think a lot of these can get sucked into the employee mindset of I'm going to go work insurance and I'm going to go sell insurance. But if your goal was to build passive income, if you just sell insurance the whole time, you're not building yourself a passive income. If you can go and hire the right people and bring on people to make you money while you're basically leveraging other people's time to make yourself money. So I think going in with the right goal and the vision the vision set in your mind of what you want to happen, then you'll make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I say all the time. Everyone comes into this business looking to be an insurance agent. And I always look at
Mhm.
it from a business opportunity. And like you said, everyone has an employee mindset. So everyone comes, they want to be a top producer. I remember we were having a contest one time and the winner or the winners was going to get a ride on a private jet with the owner of the carrier that I use to the Bahamas. And my
Mm,
manager at the time said, "Aren't you pumped? Aren't you excited for that? Because the top producers were going to do that." I was like, "No, not at all. I'm trying to buy a plane. I'm not trying to win a ride on a plane. I'm trying to buy a plane. So that's going to take different efforts, right? That's going to take building a business and not being a top producer." And he looked at me. There's nothing he could say about that because he saw
right,
where my vision was, and it didn't hesitate for a second. And too many people, it's cool to be a top producer and it's cool to produce and you want to be able to produce, but
right.
leveraging other people. And I look at it as franchises, right? Look at McDonald's. That's it. All I am is setting up franchises all over the place. I got a
Mhm,
recipe that works. I got a system that works and I can show you how to do the same thing. And the beautiful thing is you can set up your own McDonald's franchises and it's not going to
right.
cost you millions of dollars to do it.
There's a reason the guys at the top will buy you the plane ride if you are a top performer. It's because 'cause you're making them 10x what that plane ride costs with what you just created for them. Look at it from a business standpoint, definitely. Find a way to get yourself ahead, not just someone else ahead. So what last real question here. What is one question that you wish I would have asked or one topic that you wish I would have brought up and covered? And how would you have answered or how would you have expanded upon that topic?
Man, that's a heck of an end of the podcast question, man. You asked a lot of really good questions. We talked about a lot of really good things. And one thing I do want to touch on is we're talking about how I was exposed to my grandfather and how I saw there was a different world. And but let me also bring you back. That was in the 80s, right? We
Mm,
didn't have it. You guys don't need that grandfather that's doing well anymore, right? Again, you're watching this podcast, you're already talking to people, and you're searching out information, and it's just really spending some time and finding who that person is and who's going to coach you and mentor you to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish. And like I said, don't get so caught up on the product, right? I'm just working on getting to the real estate game myself, but I'm not caught up on the product. I'm trying to figure out which one is going to give me the lifestyle that I want. Is it short-term rental,
mm,
apartment buildings? Is it single family homes, doing long-term rentals? What is going to be the vehicle that's going to help me accomplish the goal that I want? And I think so many people get caught up in that. Even selling cars. I remember I sold cars for a little bit and the one guy was telling me I need to work at this one dealership. I think it was a Mercedes or a Lexus dealership. And the reason why is there's no other Lexus dealerships anywhere close by. So you're going to
mm,
capture all the traffic. It wasn't had nothing to do with you like the Lexuses or anything. Like you're going to capture all the traffic because there was no other dealerships. Where if you're at the Mercedes, there's another one pretty close by. And that was his theory. And that made sense to me. And
right.
you're doing, dude, you're probably got a lot of time left in your life if you're watching this. And if the more we sacrifice now, the more the rest of their lives can be really easy and put the work in. So many people are scared of work. I'll tell you right now, my first year in the insurance business, I didn't do anything but work. I sat my girl down. I said, listen, I know you just moved from Louisiana here. I know you just left your family, but like, I'm not going to be spending a lot of time at the beach and doing things like this first year. I'm doing nothing but working. Please just give me a
Mm.
year. And she was actually working to become a nurse. So she had 4 years left. So I'll give you four. And I was like, all right, deal. And on Saturday, hey, you want to go to the beach? No, I'm working. You know what I mean? And it was a
Right.
year sacrifice. And everyone probably thought I was nuts. But guess what? Now we can do whatever the heck we want, whenever we want. It wasn't worth it. It was 1, 2, 3 years. Would you sacrifice 3 years of your life to do whatever you want the rest of your life? And get focused on the bigger picture and don't let people, big thing I have. So let's see, you can see here. So It's about a 1% mindset. And a big thing I talk about
Mm,
is to be a one percenter in America, you have to make, I think, probably $500,000 a year now. And that means the other 99% of the people aren't doing it. And the reason they're not doing it is because their mindset and the way they're thinking and their habits, right? You're
yes.
trying to be a one percenter and your goal is to be making four, five, $600,000 a year. Stop taking advice from people that aren't doing that, because the reason they're not doing that is because they're thinking differently than a one percenter. So get your advice from one percenters, work on having a 1% mindset, and that's when things will start changing in your life.
That's fantastic. Find where you want to be. Find the people who are actually there, actually doing it, actually making the money that you want to be making and follow their lead. That's awesome. David, where can my listeners find you, watch you online?
Yeah. So I have a YouTube channel, David Price Official. My Instagram is David Price Official. You can go to my website, tpglife.com, check out my agency website, and you can find me, connect with me. And if you have any questions, I'd love to help you. And the other thing too, what I'm realizing is anyone that I know that makes a good amount of income, they're all willing to share. They're all willing to answer questions. It's the people that aren't making it that are stingy, that don't have the time. But the people that are blessed, they do other people. So don't be scared to reach out to someone, but don't reach out to them, ask a bunch of questions if you're not willing to take the advice. You want to have a give take relationship with these people as well.
And if they see you taking the advice, they'll just be more willing to give you even better advice to expand yourself in the future. So,
Absolutely.
David, I really appreciate the time today. It's been an awesome conversation.